Today is we're going to take this pinch pot here and we're going to make it into a cup. Now we've got a lip already. We're going to add a foot to the base, and then what we're going to do is add a handle to it. We're going to do this. Now this piece was sitting out for about an hour. It's getting a little bit hard. My recommendation is that you let it get leather hard before you add the handle. Or it needs to, the walls need to be at least strong enough so that it doesn't cave in when you start putting it together. Here I have a piece of clay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it into a coil. I probably don't need all that for my coil. So this coil can be used for the foot. If it's not coming out, if it's coming out kind of lumpy, what you need to do is really roll it a full length. So you may have to get used to using your entire hand. And once you end up with a coil that looks pretty even, then what you can do is you can take it and you're gonna coil it and then connect it. Now, what we need to do now is we need to measure how much of this we want. Since this end is tapered, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off. And then maybe it'll go to here. I cut it off. So it's gonna be about like that. So I'm going to need to put this together, and then I'll go ahead and put this together. You make a ring out of it. And then what I can do is kind of mark. I want to put my head and eyes directly above it, make sure it's centered, and then I can trace it or put little dots where I'm going to connect it. And then what I need to do then is score it. The idea of scoring is giving it little something to grab onto, like little fingers, I guess you would say. It's not unlike cross-hatching when you're drawing with your pen or your pencil. So I get this scored. This piece can be scored. This piece is rather soft, and the coil is a lot softer than the clay, so I don't think I need to score it too much. And then over here we have the slip. So the slip, I get some slip here and get it on there. A really good, my slip is a little thin because it's kind of a new slip. You want your slip to be kind of thick, kind of like heavy cream. And I can put some slip, since it's so thin, I'm gonna go ahead and put slip on both parts. And then I'll put my head and eyes directly above and make sure I have it centered on there. And then I can push it down a little bit. Make sure it doesn't come off. Then the next thing I can do is I can start rubbing it. I'm going to go ahead and use the stick to kind of smooth it out. And kind of mash it down in there. I like to keep turning. Get it rubbed in there. What a good idea is to get it on there and then just let it set and stick on there. And then I can go back and trim it later So since my fingers are too big to get along the sides, I can kind of hang on to it and turn it and kind of mash it in or smudge it in so that it all comes together. You keep turning it, keep turning it, keep turning it. So that's connected. What I can do is, I do want to trim it some more, but I'm going to go ahead and let that set for a while. Make sure it's even. But if you notice, now we have a foot on the base. And we can see how it sits. It sits pretty good. So I can set this aside, and now I need to make another coil. Oops. To make my handle. So when you're making a coil, if it starts cracking too much, it most likely means it's way too dry, and so you need to re-moisturize or re-wet the clay. If you want your handle not to be round, you can kind of mash it down gently, turn it over, mash it down gently with your finger. If you want it kind of squarish, you can square it off. You can rub it with your stick. On both sides. The goal is to get the shape that you want, depending on the style of cup that you're making. I'm going to rub it with the stick. Okay, so now I'm kind of happy with the shape that I have. And what I want to do is figure out, okay, how do I want to attach it to the side? So we'll go ahead and cut an end. Right now we're doing a quick dry fit, and that's going to go from the base to the top. Since this is a small cup, let's look at this from the side. Since this is a small cup, we probably don't want too big of a handle. So you got to think about proportion. Maybe there, or maybe a little shorter. It depends on if you want your whole finger to fit in, or if you just want it to look proportional, because this is kind of a small cup. And once you're happy with it, then you can kind of mark it where you want to cut it. And cut it. This end is going to have to be cut straight across. And this end can be kind of cut at an angle a little bit. And now we're ready. So what I'm going to do is, since right here is where I'm going to put it, I'm going to go ahead and score it. I'm going to do a lot of editing. It's going to just taking too long. And then I'll add slip here and then here. You want to make sure it's straight. So now these are both scored. I can put some slip in there on both sides. Let that soften. That's getting ready. Here I can gently score it because this clay is kind of wet, so it's not going to take a lot of scoring on this end. Most of it's going to be mashing the clay together. here and get some slip on this end. And then connect it. I don't remember what side I had. So connect it on one end. I think I had it the other way, right? One end and then the other end. And see how it's connecting. Once you get it on there and you're sure it's going to hold, look at it from the top. Make sure the bottom is lined up with the top. If not, you don't have a lot of time, but and then make sure the shape is the way you want it. If you look at it sideways. And there, it's connected. What I'm going to do is I'll give that a little time to set, and then I can smooth it out some more. Some people like to take a little skinny coil and wrap it around the top and bottom where it connects. It depends on what style you want your cup to be. And when you're done, you can wrap this closely with plastic all around and on the bottom, and then let that set for a while, and then you can come back and trim it with some trimming tools. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.